everyone. All right, let's talk about what's going on in Israel and Gaza for a second here. So, first of all, the first thing of note is that there hasn't been much of an update since yesterday in terms of Israeli movement in Gaza. So, I'm assuming it's probably because they're focusing mostly upon what's going on in the Al-Shifa hospital, trying to, either mop up whatever militants that are going on around there and in that general area, and trying to, of course, uh, especially the way the media is portraying this and the way it's just being, shown about across and being perceived. They're trying to, I'm assuming, trying to, uh, ensure that any damage that may come to their reputation in terms of, the media saying that Israel is, storming a hospital when there are militants within this hospital, and militants seemingly perhaps even running it. As they said, there are reports that some individuals who are working within the hospital were arrested. So just in general, I can see that they're probably very, very preoccupied. And as we can see, just all these reports that are, just in this general area, because this is, the hospital right here. Um, and something else I wanted to talk about was that in storming the hospital, there were some seizures of course, like firearms and other devices out there. So just in general, it seems that they have come up with, equipment that the militants would be using. So, it doesn't surprise me that Hamas is using this hospital as, um, seemingly protection, but it's kind of indicative of just this entire conflict, which is kind of something I want to talk about for a little bit. That I just want to mention briefly is that um, this this hospital thing is not going to be the last of this conflict. I imagine that, the way Hamas is trying to portray this is that, big country attacks small strip of land, which is the way that they're, of course, trying to spin it in that way. And of course, Israel's trying to spin it in that, there are bad guys in this area and we're the good guys. It's just in general, in terms of the way this conflict is that both sides are really trying to spin it in their own narratives, regardless of kind of who gets caught in the middle, as we can see here. So yeah, I think that this isn't going to be unique in terms of this conflict. The only thing that makes it so unique is the fact that this is, like, I believe, the biggest hospital in Gaza. So, this I imagine that, there's a lot more of Gaza left. So especially northern Gaza. If Israel wants to go after, southern Gaza, good luck trying to save any more civilians and trying to not have this happen again. So other than that, just more clashes kind of going on, as we can see here, in West Bank, but not really as much as we've been seeing earlier, and also some airstrikes and shelling going on between Hezbollah and Israel out here. But other than that, it seems to be perhaps about in line of what we've been seeing. Yesterday was a pretty big uptick in terms of hostilities, but this is probably about in line, maybe a little bit more than what we've been seeing lately. So I wanted to go right into some footage out here of what appears to be, as we can see, Israeli forces operating in what looks like somebody's dining room. And I just want to talk about it that, there are, I don't know how many people exactly, but from what I understand, northern Gaza was home to probably about, like, what, a million people, and they asked all those people to leave. So it's just, especially the story we talked about yesterday of, a couple of Israeli lawmakers wanting other countries to take Gazan refugees into their country, and you know countries rather. And it's just, it just seems like, you know uh, uh, obviously not as Israeli lawmakers think that way, but it just seems that they want to kick people out of their homes and keep them out. So, like, this is, if the people, assuming that the people here aren't living here anymore, it's unfortunate that, that, like, your or I's, if we lived here, that, you know, our dining room would be a war zone, you know? And it's just unfortunate that some individuals think that, even though, yeah, it's a war zone, but like maybe you could come back to it, if it's your home, and if your home wasn't perhaps touched by this conflict, but still there are some individuals who don't want you to come back. That's just, I don't know, it's just really unfortunate, even in a best case scenario for somebody who had to leave their homes, even though, we've seen so much of Gaza just being leveled, which is, incredibly unfortunate to see. So I also wanted to show this really quick here, just in terms of, we haven't seen much of any dense urban fighting. So this is just, obviously an explosion happening here, um, in this really dense area of Gaza, which I just wanted to show really quick since, we haven't seen too much of it. But other than that, most of this clip is just, pretty much, it is some fighting in pretty dense urban area, but it's something that I can't really show on YouTube. But other than that, yeah, that's really all I wanted to show. All right, now pivoting over to Ukraine here really quick. There's only really one update, of course, Novokalinova, which is in the Avdiivka direction. And as we can see from yesterday and today, they are pushing a decent amount, what appears to be perhaps a kilometer out of, Krasnohorivka, seemingly trying to perhaps completely surround and further surround Avdiivka, although they're kind of, going a bit in the wrong direction in terms of trying to surround them. Although, going down this roadway, trying to cut off Avdiivka further is probably what they're going for here. And just in general, I wanted to show this here, where we are seeing the Russians seemingly pushing towards Avdiivka proper. So I'm assuming that this is probably going to be, people are comparing this to the Battle of Bakhmut. And just in general, just trying to compare the two is probably going to be a little bit different, considering that this is, Wagner isn't a part of this, um, but we are still seeing, where are they? Where are they? The Storm Z, Somalia battalion, which is kind of somewhat similar, but um, we're you, although, like I said, where's the Storm Z units? Where are the Storm Z units? They would probably be somewhere, around here if in general, talking about the frontal assaults of like a Wagner, but we aren't seeing them. And there are no Wagner units, obviously, because Wagner isn't a part of um they aren't a part of this theater anymore. They're not part of pretty much Ukraine anymore. So, you would think that they would be using their penal units, Storm Z units, but we aren't. We just, we can't. There aren't here. So this is not going to be Bakhmut, because I don't think that they're going to have, full-on frontal assaults or meat waves, as they were called before. But this is starting to pivot towards, uh, Russians trying to actually push into the city proper instead of trying to surround it. So we're probably going to see a lot of footage regarding this, and Russians in Avdiivka itself, and just probably going to see a lot of tough fighting out there. So in terms of combat that's being reported, we aren't seeing anything really of note, other than shelling, and there hasn't been a report of Russian engagements out here. But I can probably assume that it's probably going to be around what we've been expecting, around the 50 or 60 area. So just in general, just talking about that, we're probably going to see more Russian assaults, of course, in the Avdiivka direction, and also, curiously enough, kind of probably in this Svatova area, as we've kind of seen lately, and perhaps even in Crimea and Bakhmut. But other than that, that's probably what we're going to be seeing in terms of combat. So here's a BBC article here that I want to talk about really quick. Nothing of this is of note, nothing that we've already haven't talked about, other than Russia admitting that Ukrainian forces have set up positions in a village, the village of Krinky that we've already talked about, and then them claiming that they will soon be wiped out, since, as we know, Russian information space is, very contentious, that, if you say the wrong thing, you might disappear in the middle of the night. In terms of talking about the military, or just Russian government, Putin in general, since, if you criticize a special military operation, you can get in trouble. in terms of going to jail or being fined or something along those lines. But other than that, it's interesting to see that Russia has seemingly um, admitted to this, but also saying that they will soon be wiped out, even though Ukrainian forces have been on the left bank of the Dnieper River for months and months. And even though we've seen a bit step up of hostilities and assaults going on in this area as per like the past few weeks, but in general, in terms of how what I expect out of this, you know, I've talked about it before, and I talk about it, almost every other day. But I think that everybody wants something to happen here, since I think that the idea, especially in like Western minds, crossings of large bodies of water, like reminiscent of D-Day and stuff like that. It's and then just operations like this are very hard because amphibious assaults are just generally really tough to carry out, especially just in this area. So just in general, people want something to happen here, but I don't think we're going to see too much. If we do, it's probably going to be very slow and steady. But from what I've seen in some of the combat that I've seen, and just footage in general, I've seen a decent amount of seemingly movement and troop rotation in this area. So um, just in general, talking about it, we'll take a look at a clip here actually coming out of this area. But um, I do expect some things to happen, but I don't expect them to happen too quickly. So taking a look at this footage here, this is reported to be out of the Krinky area, as we just talked about, across the Dnieper River. And this is a Russian tank that is apparently disabled, and the couple seconds after, the crew pretty much runs out of it and retreats. So just in general, what I wanted to show here is that this isn't just, at least in terms of what this is turning out to be for Ukraine, this isn't just an area where just a few soldiers are sitting. This is where combat is now starting to happen. This is starting to become another front line. It's or just a front in the war. So I'm expecting, as I said, in the next few perhaps days and weeks, we're going to see more and more footage like this, and more just Russian resources having to allocate in this area because more Ukrainians trying to push further in this area. As I believe I saw, um, Ukrainians are saying that they're going to try and push at least a few kilometers into this area. So in terms of that, trying to publicize that, and just going flat out and saying, on public media, that your goal is to just push in this area, you know, is going to obviously cause Russians to allocate their forces and their equipment into this area. So just in general, we're gonna see more coming out of here, and probably more footage like this. If not, perhaps more Ukrainian gains, and maybe even some more up close and personal footage. So talking about Myanmar here really quick, I just wanted to preface and say that I've been looking for some map software, or any kind of websites that can show a more consistent map of Myanmar, and in terms of the hostilities and who owns what. I've been looking for it, but I can't really find anything that's really consistent, at least that goes day by day, or at least every couple days, and that even shows the areas that is held by what and who. So, if you have any resources that have something like that, then please let me know. But I just want to look at this footage here, that these are, of course, anti-junta forces. And what I wanted to skip ahead to is that there are people seemingly offering, these fighters here, what appear to be flowers, or, plants here, and, just like young women, um, seemingly giving their gratitude to these individuals. And in general, I'm obviously skeptical of seeing things like this. Like it very well may just be propaganda, and this might be staged. But in general, if this is kind of the look that they're going for, where there are crowds of people, throngs of people, seemingly like here to cheer them, and thank them for what they've been doing. It's just I wanted to show it in terms of this seems to be popular for since there are so many anti-junta groups who are, have not necessarily fighting for independence, but are fighting for, their own people, since there are many, of course, minority groups in Myanmar, and they see these forces as, fighting for them and, helping them. So it's something that I wanted to talk about, and this is just another town, from what it seems, being captured by anti-junta forces. So it's going in a direction, and I've seen other footage of other military forces, Myanmar military, um, being taken hostage and surrendering to anti-junta forces. So just in general, this is a conflict that is developing interestingly. All right, well, that's all I really wanted to talk about here for today. If there's anything else you want me to take a closer look at, please let me know. And other than that, thanks for watching.